dokie. Thank you very much. Hello. Hello, everybody. It looks like both of them are working. At least it says both of them are working.
Nice.
So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. We got a few people joining already, which is wonderful. Hello, Miss Kathy Flesher. I see you there. And let's see if I can see anybody else. I see some other names, but I don't know all the handles. So I won't be able to say hi directly. But hello, everybody. This was, oh, hello, Wiz. How are you? This was really something I thought might be kind of important to do. I just got back from a huge show. You guys know that Tucson is our biggest show, and it's completely crazy. And during the middle of that show, I see the art clay announcement. And I'm like, oh, that is some crazy timing. Hello, Bonnie. How are you? So anyway, I thought, I will try to take this time and help people out because I know a lot of people freaked out about all of that. And I know that the supplies are getting a little limited from that perspective. And so I thought, for everybody that's kind of in the midst of thinking, do I want to test out some other clays? Do I need a backup material? Do I even just switch to base metals? All of those questions that are happening right now. I thought this was a really good time to just kind of do these weekly catch-ups with you, give you tips, give you hints about teaching, about clays, about programs you can be in, all the stuff. Right? So that's what I'm going to do. So every week on Thursday, until we see things kind of run down a little bit, I will be here and I can answer all of your questions. Okay? So it will be, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll have a basic theme going that I will discuss. But when you have questions, just shoot them at us. Shannon is monitoring them for me, so she will be over here asking me the questions, and I will get to them as quickly as I can. Okay? We actually have a question already.
We do. What was the announcement from Art Clay?
What was the announcement from Art Clay? So what I saw was that Art Clay AI Corporation evidently told their importer distributors, their tier 1 distributors, that they weren't going to be manufacturing for a little while during this silver crisis. Now, I don't have privy to that information, so I haven't seen that exact announcement. But what I saw was an announcement from Art Clay World and an announcement from Metal Clay Limited that they were holding their inventory for teachers so that they could fill those orders, and that it was going to be limited inventory for a while. So, so that's what the announcement was that I saw. And I got a lot of teachers in Tucson kind of say, and they went and ordered clay right away, and I don't know if everybody got clay or they didn't get clay or how much clay is left, but I know that it was a big concern, obviously. And I know a lot of people asked me, again, it was like a fresh round of what's the difference between Art Clay and Project X, which there are some dramatic differences. So I thought, okay, this is the time to address these things on this kind of level, and help you guys just understand the differences, things you don't want to do in Project X, things you do want to do in Project X, class suggestions, all of that stuff, okay? So, I see Joy. We got Bronwyn. Oh my gosh, we got all kinds of people on. Okay, so I'm going to start with some generic kinds of things first. And you guys jump in, ask me questions. We will get as detailed as you want. I'll be on every week, so we can save up the questions for the next week too and readdress them. Readdress them. So today I was going to talk about fundamentals, silver clay fundamentals and teaching fundamentals, some basics. We're going to cover silver shrinkage between the brands. Again, these are going to be addressed more like a comparison between Art Clay and Project X. That way, anybody transitioning has a little bit easier time transitioning. Design planning, firing basics, and teaching for success. Those are kind of my things today. Tucson. You guys hear me say it over and over and over again. You're probably really sick of hearing me say Tucson. But we had, it was crazy. We had, let's see, I think 100 and almost 150, 148 or something like that students over 8 days with
Yeah.
4 teachers split up in between. And it was insane. It was absolutely insane. You have every kind of problem that could go wrong. It goes wrong in Tucson because it is like back to back to back to back, and these students are running in. You don't know who they are. Some of them have experience. Some of them have no experience. They're walking into classes they shouldn't be in. It's like,
Hello.
anything that can go wrong is gonna go wrong in Tucson. Bead and Button was the same way. Bead and Button, you were just like slammed with these students that you don't know anything about them. Half of them didn't even know what medical aid was, and you're just like, and at the same time you've got these super experienced students sitting right next to you, and you're like, okay, how do I teach this, So it's crazy. This year we had one kiln because the kiln that we bought for the show didn't work. So, if anything could go wrong in a class, that's a biggie. One kiln between 2 teachers, back to back for 8 days. That was a little challenging, right? So, it's stuff like that happens, right? And I sit back and I watch as everybody teaches. I watch teachers and how they do things so that I can improve myself, right? And so, this would be my first tip to a teacher. Watch other teachers. Pay attention to what they do and try to remember those things when you get to the classroom, right? Because, perfect example. We have one kiln between 2 teachers. Tammy and Tammy Hahnemann was with me on this one. We were teaching back to back. And we were so smooth between the 2 of us that the students didn't have any idea that there were problems going on. They're just like, okay, I guess we're torch firing this class, because I was like, okay, we're going to torch fire these pendants today because that's what we had to do in order to get Tammy's class to be where Tammy's class had to be. I had to torch fire pendants in class. And it was fine, and we just rolled with those punches, and you're always going to have something go wrong in classes, right? And the best teachers use that as a learning piece for the students and not let it look like something's wrong, right? Because if you want to have if I sit down in a classroom, I want to have a good time, right? I want to learn something. I want to create something awesome, And if the classroom is upset because something is wrong, you're just not going to have that flow. People aren't going to feel creative. They're going to feel stressed out about whatever the problem was, right? And it's really easy to control that for your students. It's very easy. Let me give you an example. Let's take a terrible one. The students are walking across the room for their final dry on the hot plate or skillet or whatever, right? And you've just spent 7 hours creating whatever it was. Okay. And the student walks across the room, bumps into the teacher, and drops a piece and it shatters on the floor. And it's the end of the day now, right? You're not going to fix it. You're just not going to. So what do you do as a teacher? You have to make that it's not going to be positive, but you have to make it something that the student's okay with, right?
Yeah.
You have to help them accept what just happened and learn from what just happened and really grow from it, learn from it, feel okay that their piece is destroyed. right? And feel like they still had a good time in class. And so how do you do that? You pick up the shattered piece off the floor and you're like, okay, I have bad news for you. And you say it in this manner. You try to be upbeat and positive about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have really bad news for you. This is not fixable.
Yeah.
It's broken into a million pieces and we don't have any time left. Unfortunately, we can't fix it in class. Here is what you would do if you were at home. If you walked across your room and you dropped this on your floor at home and it broke into all these pieces, the first thing that you're going to notice is this spot right here can be fixed with paste, or we could add some clay into this spot. Or how about we cut off the whole bottom of this broken disaster down here and just make a circular pendant out of this piece, right? Exactly. Give them a few options that help them learn from the experience, right? And then after you've taught them the lesson of dropping their piece on the floor, then you tell them, I don't think I can fix this completely. What I could do for you is I could do this and mail it to you. Or I can tell you how to do all this and you can do it at home again. Or, whatever it might be. But give them some options for being satisfied with what they got out of the class. That is really a huge thing for students. Okay? It is a huge thing. And so that's my first teacher tidbit because I'm fresh out of Tucson and dealt with, oh gosh, we had warping problems because we didn't have the kiln up. Oh no, we had unsintered problems because the kiln wasn't high enough. We had one kiln between two teachers and 20 students. Right? We had bendability because we fired too low. We had every crazy thing that you can imagine. It happens. But if you're really good at practicing how to make your students happy at the end, they will be okay with those things. You'll teach them the lessons that they need to learn anyway, and you'll teach them what goes wrong and how to fix the things go wrong. Who is that? Francesca Watson is one of my just absolutely favorite people ever. And she jokes about that all the time in her classes. She's like, okay, this is the thing that's going to go wrong right here, and we're going to learn how to fix this problem because you're going to do the same thing I'm going to do. It's going to happen all the time. It's going to happen. So happens as a teacher, and you have to learn how to make your students happy even though those things happened. Okay, so there's my first little teacher tidbit.
Carrie, since you're on a little break, Will said, I love her expressive hands, but I need to see that ring for a few moments. And everybody is talking about your
Everybody's
ring.
talking about the ring? Okay, fine, I'll show you. I love this ring. I will say, this was every year in Tucson, you go shopping after you do all the teaching. And every year I buy myself a little present. This was my present this year. It is from the company name is Rewind. Rewind Jewelry. His name is Carlos Montanero, I think is right. He's out in California. Yeah. Okay, so check out. I'll put it in each camera so you can see it on each platform here. It is an Alice in Wonderland white rabbit on top of a moth with a gorgeous gold bezel and garnet set in the bezel, and the construction is just remarkable on this thing. So let me put it into the Facebook one here real quick. There we go. Alice in Wonderland white rabbit. Isn't he gorgeous? I just love it. And I love the construction on this thing too. Yes. Yes, I love it. It's so flashy. I decided, after I got that, I need to make like a whole line of really big flashy rings with some base metals this year. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do, it'll be fun too. Big flashy like base metal with silver on top of it or something.
Oh yeah.
That'd be fun. Okay, so I'm sure you guys don't have any questions about my little tidbit, but if you do, throw them in there. I'm going to talk first about the basics of Project X Silver today is what we're going to talk about, okay? So I am going to show you something and it's gonna freak you guys out. It's art clay, people. This is gonna freak you out. Okay, I just got back from Tucson, and I got the leftover clay from all my classes. See this? This is exactly how I store Project X. I don't do anything different than this. It doesn't need to go into a hydrating cup. It doesn't need to do any of those things, okay? It goes back in this bag. Got a Ziploc on it. Inside there is my little bag that it came out of. Okay? And you see that? It's squishy clay. What day did I stop teaching? The 7th?
I believe so.
The
7th
7th.
or 8th, somewhere in there.
Yeah. 7th or 8th. Okay? So, and this could be from before that, but it is the 19th. If that was art clay, that would be hard as a rock. Okay? That's number 1. So, you don't need to store it any special way. Those are over on my bench just like that. Okay? And I know everybody's like, really? Really? That's how I store it, okay? It is going to dry a bit with time, right? It does end up getting dry, but it sits like that. As long as I use it within a month or something, it's totally, absolutely rollable, okay? After a month, yeah, I might have to condition it a little bit to get it moving again, okay? And maybe 3, 4, no, not 3 months, 4 or 5 months, then it's going to be much harder, more like a rock or something, okay? But it goes a long, long time. That's number 1. That is the thing that I refer to when we talk about Project X. That is the longer working time. That's what that means. So when you have a clay that is a longer working time, it means you have a longer drying time. So when you're planning classes, that has to be accounted for, right? When you plan a class with art clay, for instance, and let's go simple, beginner coin shape rolled out texture piece, okay? If it's art clay, you're going to throw that on a cup warmer, right? You're going to throw it on a dehydrator, something like that. And you might be able to get away with like 5 minutes or something like that. And then you can do a little bit of refining. Then you put it back on there. Maybe 15-ish minutes, for something that's like, I don't know, maybe like a millimeter thick, which is like the blue cards. Something like that, right? 5 minutes before refining, 15 minutes maybe total time, 20 max, okay? Project X takes more drying than that. I usually won't take them off the dry, same thin project. I won't take that off the dryer at least for 10 minutes, maybe 15, okay? And then I'm going to put it back on the dryer again for probably another 15. I recommend something. I use a skillet. Can't turn this around. I use a pancake skillet. It's a big square pancake skillet, and it's got a dial thermostat on it so you can turn the heat up, That is the ideal drying condition for me, because if I decide to use flex clay has to be dried at 300 degrees. No question. It has to be dried at 300 degrees. So now I have a tool that I can use for regular clay or that clay, right? And I can use it on the regular clay just by, I'm going to talk about how to prevent warping and stuff, but I get the initial dry done, and then I crank that thing up to like 250 and leave it there, and now it shortens my drying time, okay? So that is one of the really big things that I talk about when you're planning your class for art clay versus Project X. You have to put some more drying time in there, and you need to really get it warm. That's my recommendation. I warm mine all the time. Some people don't, but I do. Our clay has more oils in it. That's what helps with the working time, right? More oil, though, is harder to dry than water, you got to get that oil out of there. That's why I like to turn that heat up on there, okay? If you fire your pieces and you get bubbles in the metal, that's the number one. Yes, people can fold air into their clay, but the number one answer is it wasn't dry enough. The number two answer is you might have folded bubbles in, okay? So that's a real biggie. And I need to write down so I don't forget to talk about it, that warping, because we're going to address that. Except I forgot.
I got you, girlfriend.
Okay. She's got me. I'm going to talk about warping. Okay. The number two thing with Project X versus art clay is the shrinkage. Project X shrinks about 25, we say 25% on average. Each one is just a little bit different, but you've got a range of 22 to 28. The standard 999, I think, is 24 to 26, if I remember right, something like that, okay? So I usually tell people 25%. There's a really easy way to figure that out. People are like, I don't want to calculate the shrinkage and blah, 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 and how big is it going to be? It's really easy. Yes, you can run calculations and measure things and all that stuff. I am not that person. You guys know me. I'm not that person. I'm the throw the thing together and create something fun person, right? So, how do I calculate shrinkage on a piece? Well, it's not too hard. I need to find something to demonstrate with. Here we go. Okay. So, I've got, there we go. I've got a piece that is this big. Half of that is this big. Half of that is this big. That's how much is going to go away. Which means my piece is going to be that big. Rocket science. I know. I made that really easy, but I will do it again. Okay? Are you ready? What's half of this piece? Right there. Right? And what's half of that? Right there. So my piece is going to be that big when I'm done. Rocket science. 25%. Just take off 1/4 of the size of the piece. Okay? Now, if you're making something that requires you to be specific, that's a different thing. Then we're going to do the math and we're going to figure that out. Okay? But when I'm just trying to judge a pendant, and see, okay, I got a template that is, of course I don't have a template, but it's fine. I got a template that has a circle that's this big on it. I just need to see roughly what size that piece is going to be when I'm done. That's what I'm trying to see, okay? And you're never going to be teaching a class you haven't tested out anyway. So the shrinkage from that perspective is not a problem. You've got things that do deal with the shrinkage, though. You've got warping, and you've got things like rings or bracelets that you really need to know what size they're going to be, right? So that's something that requires a little extra attention. The warping situation. Two times it can warp. It can warp during drying, and it can warp during firing. Okay, and they are two separate things. Warping during drying is very easy to control if your piece is going to be flat. That's easy to control. I use a pancake skillet. I have it on about 150, something like that. So that's a nice warm temperature. That's about the heat of a coffee cup mug warmer. Okay, 150. That's Fahrenheit. I go over, I put my piece on it, and I watch it. And as soon as I start to see the curl happen, and it curls up, the edges start coming up. As soon as I see that, I flip it over and tap it down. Now, I look at the back of it, and it looks wet. You'll see it. It's kind of a darker gray and kind of shiny. I watch the back of that, and as soon as I see the back starting to dry and get that matte look, I flip it over again and I tap it down. If the front looks wet, I do that one more time. If the front doesn't look wet, I'm good to go. I can leave it there. That takes all of a minute and a half, depending on how thick your piece is, okay? So if your piece needs to be flat, it's very, very, very easy to deal with that problem, okay? And again, it's just something that I work into my class. I get all of my students to put their pieces up on the dryer at the same time, and then I stand by the dryer and I talk about something. That way, I'm the one in control of the pieces warping or not warping instead of making them manage that, right? Because they're not going to manage it. You know them. you're gonna turn around and there's gonna be some curly potato chip kind of piece over there. Now you're like, oh, now I gotta fix that one, right? But as long as I get all of those pieces up there at the same time, I can stand by the dryer and give whatever talk I'm going to give about, maybe I talk about refining at that time, right? So refining consists of blah, 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 blah. And I do my thing and I look over and I flip my pieces and we're all nice and flat. Okay? Now, if you have a design, that's where it's a little trickier. Oh, I know, something like a dome, right? Let's say you're just going to dry on a dome, a circle on a dome, okay? So I put them in the dome, and I put my domes upside down. That's my favorite way to do them, is to put them in cups upside down, because then I can press it into the dome versus trying to squish the clay onto the dome and getting it to stay, okay? So I use, and again, this isn't something that you have to use. There. But this is what I use just because it works fastest and easiest. We have these brass doming forms, and they come in different sizes, right? I can put that on heat. Now it's going to dry really fast instead of waiting forever for that thing to air dry, right? Because it's on plastic or something. So I put these little brass domes straight on the heat. I put my piece inside the cup. And then I go over there occasionally and tap it down anywhere it looks like it might be doing something wonky, something like that. And keep my eyes on it for a few minutes, again, until I see it's matte. Once it's matte, I'm good to go. I can walk away. I don't have to keep my eyes on it. Okay? Okay. Do I have any questions up to that point before I talk about the firing warping stuff?
I think we are good. Yeah, just one question about how long the live will be available for, but.
Okay. Oh, wait, I see something on Insta. What if the piece has, I can't read it on my phone. It's too little. What if the piece has little balls or a second, you don't see that?
No, I'm not seeing any questions on Insta.
Are you seeing comments on Insta?
I'm seeing everyone that's joined. I wonder if it's lagged out on me.
Yeah, it might have been. Okay, let me put my glasses on. Oh, I got glasses all over my body. There we go. Ay. What if the piece has little balls or a second layer? Okay. And you're trying to dry flat, I'm assuming. That's going to be fine. You're still going to tap, but you won't be able to flip it over, okay? So you'll lay it down on the thing, you'll watch it start to dry, and as soon as you see that action start to happen, I'll release it. Like I use Teflons to dry on, so I'll make sure to go over there and release it from the Teflon when I start to see that action happening, and then I'll tap any edges down, and I'll manage it the same way. I'm just not going to flip it over to do it. So it'll take a little bit longer because you're not going to get as much airflow underneath as you would if you flipped it over. But you'll still be able to go over, pick it up off of your Teflon and do that managing that way. Okay?
Yeah, Corey on Facebook says, I was thinking the same thing. What if the piece has a 3-dimensional design adhere to the front of it?
Yeah, that's exactly what you would do.
Yeah.
You'd still tap edges down and things like that, but you're going to release it from that Teflon to get some air under it. That will help the most. Okay. Did you see the thank you come up on Insta?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I refreshed
Now
it.
she's
so
on.
Hopefully, yeah. I refreshed it and it popped
And it
through,
popped
so,
up.
yeah.
Okay. Shannon's helping me. Okay. So that was warping during drying. Okay. And the same rule applies. Like if you do have something that's warped already as you dried it, you can mist it and put some weight on it to keep that flat. You can do all that. It always takes class time to do that kind of thing. So I tend, to try not to let that happen. Okay. Then you've got warping during firing, which is a totally different problem. Okay. Our clay has a very different kind of density to it than the other metal clays do. Our clay is more like sheet metal after it's fired. It's not porous like the other ones are. So it is coming together much tighter. It is technically firing at a less temperature and time. Now, I told everybody when we invented this, we made it so that you could fire it at 1650, but you can't do 2 hours. You can only do 30 minutes. But that is the ultimate high. You do not really want to do that. Okay. Everyone is used to the rule of 2 hours at 1650 for the old big brand clays. Okay. Don't do that with our clay. It will overfire. And there's really not a way for me to explain it to you besides to, refer you back to, like, if you go to my blog on our website, you'll see an article where I posted pictures of they're the SEM pictures of the inside of the metal. You'll see it's not porous. It's more like a sheet metal. It's crystalline and flat inside, okay? So we melt at a lower temperature and we sinter at a lower temperature with Project X. That does allow you to have faster classes for sure. It allows you to do a lot of other really cool things, like if you're going to solder in class, you don't even need to put it through the tumbler and burnisher and do all that work. I do brush mine before I solder on it, but I don't burnish them or anything. I just solder right on it. For the enamelists, you don't need to do all that metal prep. Again, just brush it and you can enamel right on top of it. And you can torch fire it and torch enamel it. That's how much denser it is, okay? That density comes with real precautions. The precautions are, don't fire it at a 1650 for 2 hours. Don't. You want to see it melt? It'll melt. And people see this potato chip action happen. That's usually, again, I'm going to give you the number one answer. There's other reasons sometimes. But the number one answer is it's too hot. Okay? So, if you're at 1600 and on a ceramic shelf, you're probably too hot. If you're at 1650 at 2 hours, I know you're too hot. Okay? I'm trying to kind of give you the options, right? If you are at 1600 for 2 hours on a fiber shelf, you're supposed to be, what I want you to fire at is 1600 for 30 minutes on a fiber shelf. That's what I want you to fire at, okay? You're going to need to test. You have to test. And when you have 10 students in that class and you're firing all those pieces at the same time, you need to know how that affects your kiln, right? A big burn off can affect the temperature inside that kiln. It can shoot a lot faster and not allow for shrinkage to happen properly and all those kinds of things. Okay, so you need to test for those kinds of things, because every project is going to be different. But if you see warping on your piece after it comes out of the kiln and it was flat when it went in, the most likely answer is you're too hot. Okay, that's the most likely answer. There are pieces that warp depending on the shape sometimes, but more than likely you're a little too hot. Okay? that should have some questions. Do I have questions? Yes.
You do. Corey
Okay.
said, is torch firing quicker since it fires at lower temperature for less time?
Yes, torch firing is way quicker. So, that was what I talked about a little bit in the beginning. I ended up torch firing most of my classes so that Tammy could have the kiln while we only had one kiln between us. And knowing the material well enough, I had no problem torch firing all of my projects. We did pendants. I'm trying to, yeah. A lot of times people say, oh, just, do something like a little coin shape or something like that. These have color on them, but you'll get the idea. This is a pendant with a bail on it, right? We torch fired all those in class with no problem at all. The torch firing tips that I have a million torch firing videos. Okay, so I won't do that on camera. Unless, if I get a million people tell me that they want me to do it again on camera, we'll do it on the next week or something like that. I'll try to have one set up. But I look for a few things when I'm torch firing. First, I just get it warm. And actually, here's another crazy teacher tip for you. So I'm in class, we're tight on time. I'm not 100% that these pieces are really, really dry, okay? With a torch, you can control that. So warm the piece, just warm. Don't put that flame all the way on it, just warm it. And as you see it warm, you're gonna see oil come up to the surface and you will literally see the oil. That's your indicator that it wasn't dry. And as long as you let that happen nice and slow, that oil will dry up and then you'll hit the burn off stage and you'll see the burn start. It's awesome to see it when it happens, and it feels good to know that you're not going to blow the piece up. But if you're not sure, and you can do the test on the mirror to see if there's condensation on the piece, but if you're not 100% that those are really, really bone dry, do that. Just warm them with the torch and you'll start to see that oil come up to the surface, and it'll work perfect when you do that, okay? So I warm them, I get the oil out, I bring it up to the burn off, I let it burn off all the way. It's a much bigger flame because we have more oils, right? Then when the flame goes down, you go up to the bright orange and you're going to see it curl up, okay? That's the normal curl up shrinkage. When that shrinkage has stopped, you're going to see that lay back down, and I use my flame to just kind of help it lay down nice and flat all the way, and then I back my temp off a little bit. Because if it's bright, crazy orange, it's too hot for Project X.
That was one of the questions.
Was that?
Yeah. How do you know if you're too hot when firing?
Yeah. If it's bright orange, it's too hot. And that's hard for everybody to explain what bright orange is.
Yeah.
But there's, I guess if I had to explain it, there's, I'm not sure if it's really orange. There's,
yeah.
There's, that's barely orange, but I think it's orange. Orange. There's, oh, that's orange.
Yeah.
Then there's, ooh, that's bright orange. And then there's, wow, that thing is fluorescent. Wow, that thing is fluorescent is too hot. Okay? And then there is, ooh, that looks like it might be silvery. That's definitely too hot. I'm gonna put those in a little color scale for you guys.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's orange. I like that one.
I do too.
So, while fluorescent orange is too hot for Project X, okay? And what will happen is it was nice and flat, it'll curl like this. That's how you know you were too hot. If it curls up backwards, you're too hot, okay? What's happening is you're melting the internal structure of it, and it's shrinking more, even more. Just like if you ball wire, right? When you ball wire, it pulls and shrinks to itself. The inside of that structure is is melting and pulling to itself. That's why you get a backwards curl. Okay? So that should have helped a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. And then the second part of their question was, what type of block do you recommend torch firing on? So like the fire brick and stuff.
Yes, I torch fire on the fire brick. I got it. Right. There's a couple different ones. Oh, well, maybe I have them.
Oh, I thought that was one over there.
Yeah, that was a.
You want me to grab a package?
That's a big old one. Yeah, there's a picture on the package. There's two on the market that I'm aware of. One is the one we carry. Okay, looks like that. It's very, very, very lightweight. That's a key indicator. If it's heavy, it's not the right kind of brick. Okay, you need a brick that disperses the heat instead of contains it. Solderite, soldering boards, soldering bricks, kiln bricks, those all contain heat and will melt your piece from up underneath it. Okay, so you want something very, very light. Oh, charcoal. Don't try to fire on charcoal. Okay. So that's the one that we carry. And then there's another one on the market that looks more like this. It's very similar. Both of those are great. Okay. Is that the only other question?
So we do have a couple more.
Okay.
Jonathan says, if the material is denser than others, would it work to secure a jump ring, or should I stick to spot welding?
Would it work to secure a jump ring? So Jonathan, I think you're talking about embedding a jump ring in the clay. And yes, that would work. It won't fuse to itself. So it's not going to be as strong, but there is a way to do it. I need a marker. Here we go. You're going to
Oh, some people were saying they couldn't see the items in camera up too high.
Oh, that might have been on Facebook. I noticed myself do that. Okay, I'll try to keep this stuff on camera. If there's something specific you needed to see, tell me. I'll put them back on there. Okay, let me get a piece of paper here so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've got, this is going to be hard to draw, but I will do it. Let's say I've got I can't draw it that way. Oh, and my marker's almost dry. Okay, I've got a metal clay piece like this, okay? And I want to put a jump ring on it. I'm gonna make this jump ring monster size. Okay, I wanna embed it under the clay line. See, the bottom of the jump ring is under the clay line, and I'm gonna put clay in that area right there across the bridge so that there's clay over the inside of that jump ring and the jump ring can't possibly come out. Okay, that's how you would embed a jump ring in there versus soldering or welding it. It will not fuse. So the fine silver clay it fuses to itself, but it's not going to fuse to the ring. The two structures will act independently and come apart from each other versus come together. Kind of like when you're soldering, you're not going to get a piece come together. That's why you need solder to fill, that space in between. They won't melt together. Okay? Or when you're fusing, if you've got a jump ring and you're fusing a jump ring, if you have the tiniest gap right there, it's just going to melt like this versus fuse together at those joints. It's going to work a similar way to that. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Jason says, if using Flex 999 and base metal, let's just say bronze, together in a piece, how would you fire and carbon together, or is that not recommended?
Okay, using flex and base metal, a 999 silver and base metal and firing it in carbon. Okay. First thing that's, I won't hit on a lot, but that's really important is if you use silver, any silver, and a base metal, it needs to be a low tin content base metal. Okay, copper, red bronze is pushing it. Don't do it with light bronze or white bronze. Tin and silver react. Okay, so they will have a problem with each other. But if you do a low tin content base metal, you can do it. Okay. And from putting it in the carbon, you shouldn't have any trouble at all. Your project design can be complicated on how you're going to fire that or whatever, but you can put the silver right in the carbon with the base metals connected as much as you want, and the silver will be fine in the carbon. Okay. Your temperature is going to be a challenge for you though. So, because no tin content would be copper. Our copper fires at 1800. Silver's not going to take that. So, that's where you're going to run into challenges with mixing silver and the base metals together. The best thing to do, here's the answer to that question. I will. Here's my 5-second class. If you're going to mix copper and silver together in a piece, let's say, fire the copper first at 1800. Put the silver on it and refire at a silver temperature, 1600-ish. That's how you do that.
Nice.
Right. Yeah. Good question, Jason. Good question. Yeah. Okay, what other questions we got?
So somebody on Instagram asked, why not charcoal? Too hot?
Charcoal is going to be, it's a heat, not conductor, but container. What happens is if you have a brick that helps hold heat, that heat is going to be under your piece right there and is going to overfire it. Okay? Charcoal will absolutely do that. Metal clay firing bricks, which, we specifically say they are metal clay firing bricks. Those are bricks that disperse heat. So it doesn't hold that heat in that spot right there. That's why things like charcoal or solderite or ceramic blocks and stuff don't work as well. It's not that you can't do it, it's just a whole lot riskier. You gotta watch more carefully for melting it.
Okay, I'm trying to go in order. Okay. So they want to see the fire and brick options again on Facebook.
Gotcha, I was too high. Okay, this is the one that we carry. Okay. And then the one that I had, where'd it go? This is another one that I know is out there somewhere. This one. Okay. Okay.
Miss Cheryl said, can you insert the same wire used for ceramic clay in your clay? I think it's titanium.
Titanium wire can be inserted in our clay. Steel wire can go in the base metals, but shouldn't go in the silver. Okay. And the titanium can go in the silver, if I remember right. I think I tested that. Yeah, I think that works right. You might want to test that one a little bit. I'm thinking about that one now. I'm like, I'm not sure if I tested that or not. I think I did, though. We carry titanium eyelets because we need them for the white bronze, because you can't put a silver eyelet in white bronze. So we carry titanium eyelets, and I'm pretty sure I did test the titanium in silver, but you might want to test that one. Okay.
Corey said, can you alter the finished fired product by adding more clay and refire? Oh, hold on. Other stuff's coming in. And refire like you can do with art clay.
Yes. The question is, can you have a piece that's fired and then add more clay to it and refire it again? Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely the same. And the same basic rules apply. You want kind of a roughed up surface where you're going to be connecting that. Make sure your connections are good. I always have trouble where, just like trying to pop. Let's say you have a piece and it had a ball on top or something, and you just want to put the ball back. I always have trouble with that because the connection's just not strong enough. So you do want, to create kind of a strong connection wherever you're going to do that. But yes, you can absolutely just refill with clay and fire again.
Awesome. Chris has a good question.
Okay.
Would a ceramic or pottery kiln brick work as well?
No, the ceramic brick is not a good option. That's another one that contains heat. Yeah, that is why that's the fun part about it is we talk about there's a few things for metal clay that are specific. That is one of them. It has to be a metal clay approved firing brick because it's you'll know when you feel it. It weighs like nothing.
Yeah.
It's super crazy light.
Okay.
We got good questions.
I know.
I'm like, woohoo!
See all the questions coming through.
It is good. Okay. And I think we are getting tighter on time, aren't we? Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to my list and make sure I hit everything I was supposed to hit. How about that?
Yes.
Shrinkage, design planning, firing basics, teaching first. Okay. I didn't talk about design planning too much. This is, again, for teaching a class. Okay. When you're going to teach a class, you always want to think about everything that could go wrong in this class, right? So what is rule number 1? You test out the class. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You do that a lot. Yeah.
Shannon and I talked about it this year because she saw me go through that. Again, Tucson's my biggest show. Crazy big show. I have to have new classes every year, all that stuff. And so what I tend to do is early in the year, I create my new classes, okay? And then throughout the year, we schedule those classes before I hit the Tucson insanity that's going to go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because in the studio, if something goes wrong, I can handle it. It's much easier. I don't have a million people freaking out because their piece shattered or whatever, whatever the problem is. So I test out my classes throughout the year. When you do that, you start to understand where in the class things are going to take longer to do. Let's say designing the piece. Well, if I put my whole box of templates out for my students, it will take them 20 minutes to figure out what they want to make. Because I have a lot of fun things to design with, right? If I give them every template that I have and I don't tell them what size we're going to limit it to, now they're trying to figure out if they're going to make a big piece or a little piece and which shape they like, and does this shape get a bail on it? You can't put a bail on this pointy thing. All of those rules, right? So I work all of those things out ahead of time. I sit down and I say, okay, I'm going to use those pendants as an example because they're sitting right here. We're going to make these pieces, okay? I can't hold 2 of them at a time. These pendants, right? And for these pendants, I know I need a template. I need a template for the shape, and I need a template for the bail, and I need textures. I'm going to pull out of my inventory just the templates that I approve that they could use. I'm not going to pull out the long, skinny blades, or the giant size circle templates. I'm not going to pull those things out because I don't want them to even be looking that direction because that takes more time out of my class. So class planning as you're doing it is very important. And if you sit down, you write your tutorial out, you know exactly what you're going to say and do, but that's you. That's not your students. And they're going to ask you questions. That's not too hard. You can usually work with that pretty easily. But there's going to be sticky spots in the class that take more time. That's where understanding all of those things are going to be useful to you so that your class runs really smoothly. This class, resin colors. pick a color.
Any color.
Any color. I don't care what color it is. No. It's true though. It's
Yep.
funny. They're going to spend a lot of time doing that. You got to be prepared for that, right?
Yeah.
You want them to be creative, you know, but
Yeah.
if you give them a few rules going in and you limit the number of options that they have, they won't know that they're limited.
Right.
So it goes so much smoother. I told them the way that I did this one, they had, you know, a full range of colors for these. But I said, you can only pick 2. I said, and it's true. Your piece looks better if you only have 2 colors on this, right? You start going into 3, 4, 5 colors, it just looks crazy on that particular design. So I told them, you can have 2 colors. They can be complementary, they could be contrasting. I don't care, but pick 2 colors. It was easier that way.
That's smart.
So that's another one of those, just think about the project that you want to teach. Think through those options and pre-teach that class, whether it's to friends, whether it's to some family members, right? Whether you do it, you know, just on a smaller scale, but test out all those kinds of problems before you run a big class, you know, and not know exactly what the timing is going to be and all those things. Okay.
Good hint.
Okay, those were my points. Do we have any other questions?
We do.
We do. Okay.
So Cheryl said, can you speak about firing on your gas stove top?
Yes, firing on a gas stove top. Okay, a little bit trickier. You need a good steel mesh for this, and it can leave marks on the back of your silver. So, what did we use? We used the fine steel mesh, I think. Yeah, let me show you this. Here you go. Okay, so see, I have everything. You name it, it is in this
I know, that's
building. It's ridiculous. So we used a fine steel mesh. When you see this, see how fine that mesh is? Okay, it is a very fine mesh. You don't want something heavy because your silver will slump as it fires, right? And you really don't want to see all those lines on the back of your pieces. Okay, so you want a fine steel mesh. Lay it over the gas. Okay. Oh, and this is stainless steel, not galvanized steel. Again, very important. Stainless steel. Okay. And somebody's going to ask where to get these, and we don't have any in stock right now. Sorry. Where can we get these? Where you've bought your other steel mesh, check those places. We usually have some in stock. We just don't have it right now. So we need to get that back in. So you're going to lay it over the gas. Okay? So those little finger things there, that's my gas. Right? And I'm going to keep it off. Okay? I'm going to put my metal clay piece right over where one of the flames is. Okay, see that on my hand there? You can kind of see where I mean. It's right over where one of the flames is. You're going to turn the gas on very, 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 very low. As low as you can get it to stay on is the best way to put it. You know how if you go too low, it won't stay on. Keep it lit, but as low as it can be. Let that do the burn off. Okay. Once the burn off is out, you can turn it up a little bit, and you're going to turn it up a tiny bit at a time until you see the orange glow that we talk about, right? When you see the orange glow, let that go for 2 minutes and then turn it off. So you're just going to barely turn that heat up a little bit at a time. Once your 2 minutes is up, turn the gas off, and then you can use your tongs and pick it up off that. Okay? So the biggest difference is you have to put it in place before you turn the gas on, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to turn the gas barely on to get the burn off to happen, and the burn off will take longer because you have less, less heat up under there, right? So the burn off will take longer to actually happen. It'll take a little bit to warm it up and get it to catch on fire. Okay?
So it's low and slow.
Low and slow.
So Wanda's on here. She says, "Well, what if everybody in class picks the same template?"
Wanda! What if everybody in class picks the same template? That is a challenge. So I was just joking about all the challenges that happen in Tucson. Can you believe this? Like, this never happens. I have templates of all shapes. I have textures of all kinds. Okay? 3 people in a 10-person class picked the exact combination of shape and texture.
That is crazy.
And they're like, which one's mine? I don't know. I'm like, I really don't know. And yes, we should have marked them. Oh. It was just fun. But we rolled with it. Okay.
So Miss Sherry has a question. She
Yes.
says, "How long does it take to fire Project X with beehive kiln?"
How long does it take to fire Project X with a beehive kiln?
Uh-huh.
I do not know. I don't know that answer, Sherry. Your beehive, I believe the beehive gets up to 1600, if I understand that correctly. So once you're up at 1600, you could go just 2 minutes once you're up to that temp. I know it's hard to tell what that is though, and I just don't have a ton of experience with them to be able to answer that one for you. I think I would test it, but if you can bring it all the way up to temp, maybe test that time to see how long it takes to come all the way up to temp, that might be one thing to do, and then know your 2 minutes after you predicted you're up at temp. It's about the best thing I could recommend on that. I'm not a huge fan of beehives. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, she said she melted a piece.
Yeah, you can. They're just too hard to control. To me, it's easier to torch fire because you can see what you're looking for.
So Jonathan said, if using ceramic ring sizes for a kiln, which one would you use if you need a size T, for instance? And can it keep wrapped around when firing?
Okay, using ceramic plugs with Project X for ring bands. You're going to, I can't give you the size calculation because you need to do the math for that, but you're going to take the diameter of the ring size that you want. So like a size 7, whatever that diameter is, okay? You're going to, you want a 25% shrinkage. So you're not going to add 25% to it, but you're going to multiply that out. That's how you would do that. You're not going to go by sizes. You're going to go by the actual millimeters around there. Okay? One of the things that I do is when that and you can fire it all together like that. When that comes in, obviously you want your connection to be super strong where the band connection is. Okay? You're going to have I usually let it come all the way in, and then if it's too tight, then I'll just wash the investment, until it crumbles. But generally, it won't come in that tight for me. That's another thing that I don't love. I'm just going to be honest. I don't love investment plugs. I don't love them. To me, this is a philosophy. Everybody has their own philosophy. This is Carrie. Use the material for what the material is good for. The material is not made for ring bands. It's not made for ring bands. It is not the right kind of structure for durability, for strength. You got to calculate shrinkage, and shrinkage is not a precise number, ever. Shrinkage is never a precise number. That's why it's a range, right? That's why we we actually say on the package what the range is, because it's not a precise number. That's why I'm not a big fan of them. I will tell you all day long to make yourself a ring band out of stock, out of wire stock or sheet stock or whatever, and solder your metal clay to the top of it. I'll tell you that all day long. So that's how you would do it. You're going to take that and multiply it out, not by size, but by the actual millimeters. But I don't use those. I'll just say it that way.
Okay. Beverly, she said with the beehive, she flips her piece and then repeats the same time on the other side. So that's good for Sherry to know.
Beverly, you flip your piece in the beehive? Why do you flip your piece? It shouldn't need to be flipped. Because the piece should be the same temperature pretty much through and through. That's interesting. Okay.
Checking Insta. Let's see. I think we're good there.
We're all good? Yeah, I think my Insta froze. I can't see any more comments.
Yeah, mine's been acting up too.
I know. I'm like, Insta!
It's not cooperating.
Okay. But I think we're good though. Right? Let me talk about, I'm going to recap a little bit of this for anybody that joined at the end. The goal of these is going to be to talk about the differences between Art Clay and Project X for people that are needing to switch because they're having trouble getting the materials. Okay? So I know a lot of that is going around right now, and there's a lot of questions about it. So that's why I'm here. I'm trying to address those questions so that you can have successful classes. So I'm going to do this every single week on Thursday at 10 a.m. You can watch them afterwards again. They'll be up on the Facebook and the Insta page, okay? So you can go back and watch them. And I'll try to focus on slightly different subjects each time, but I will answer any questions that you have, okay? Next week I have base metal clay. Differences in costs, firing methods, design adaptations, things that are different between silver and base metals. Again, what's different between our base metals and other base metals, teaching with base metals. I'm going to focus these more on how to host classes so that, you're more successful when you're teaching. That's my goal. Okay. And I am, just to make sure it's centered. I saw Beverly's comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, you guys. If you think of another question, write it in the comments. Shannon will get back to it. And if it's something I really think we should talk about, I'll put it on the next one next week.
Yes.
And yay. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Dude.